This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo. Time to chat some hockey.
Shot score! North Dakota wins!
The best college hockey writer in the country is on deck.
North Dakota, champions of the college hockey world.
Here's Brad Schlossman.
All right, hour two, ready to rock and roll on a Friday at 10. We normally visit with our guy, Brad Schlossman, who joins us from the Grand Forks Herald. UND back home as they get set for Duluth coming up as we are in conference hockey time. Let's get the most important stuff out of the way. We had the very popular Izzo Candy rankings were unveiled today. What's number one on the Schlossman list? What's the candy got to have?
Skittles for sure.
Skittles, there it is.
100%.
Okay, all right. Number two?
I don't know if there's anything really close to that. I would maybe throw out like Starburst.
Okay. There we go. So,
Yeah.
vote for Skittles there because we had a couple of votes for them earlier in the show. All right, we're all good. I'll talk to you later. So first off, how was lovely upstate New York last weekend?
I thought it was great. It was really fun getting to see Potsdam and Canton, home of Clarkson and St. Lawrence, just to kind of understand what the communities are like, what the arenas are like. You know, I watched some of the games on video, and just to be in there and actually get to experience it is kind of cool. So I had a great time there. The locals gave me great picks on where to go, so that's always a fun part too.
All right, here's Duluth coming in, and this program that obviously for forever was humming here. And now, I don't know if it's trended the other way. Give me your overview on why things have turned for the Bulldogs over the last couple of years.
Well, I think I guess the players weren't good enough.
Yeah.
You know, it all comes back to recruiting, and sometimes you can see these cycles coming a few years out. You can see when these recruiting classes come in, and a lot of times if a class isn't great, it doesn't show the first year because you're generally relying on upperclassmen in college hockey. But when it really shows up are when these groups become the upperclassmen, and they're supposed to be the ones you rely on, and they're not good enough. So I think there was maybe a dip in recruiting for a couple of years. But then last year, Minnesota Duluth brought in just this outstanding freshman class. But again, if you're going to rely on a freshman class to win you games, it's probably not going to work in college hockey. And that's what we saw. So, but now that group is sophomores, and things have changed now. Now they've been around. Now they're starting to dominate, really. And so I think sometimes when these cycles come, you can see it coming. I thought you could see this coming for a couple of years out for Duluth. And now you can see what's building for them, that they did have this really good class. It just was going to take a little bit of time. And now it looks like they're back.
Well, that's good news for everybody in the NCHC to have Duluth back on top. Let's go back to games in Clarkson. UND split last weekend. And how did you thought they played in the two games out there?
Yeah, very different games. I thought the first game, they just weren't good enough. Clarkson had way too many grade A chances from on top of the crease. Too many outnumbered rushes. I thought when UND got behind, they pressed for offense, gave up too much. Obviously, UND didn't finish enough plays. Offense has kind of dried up a little bit, and this is more what I thought would happen a little bit. I thought when you looked at this team's roster, really young up front, and they have a lot of young players in key spots. And like I just talked about with Duluth, when you have young players, even if they're really good, you see the ups and you see the downs. I feel young players are more inconsistent, and as you get older, the consistency builds. And so I think during the first half of the year, especially, we are going to see offense dry up from time to time, probably for UND. If not, then they're exceeding how I thought this first half would go. But that's what we've seen. The first couple games, they potted a lot of goals. Now all of a sudden, it's been tough to finish. I actually did like the chances they generated on Saturday night, especially coming back. It was a 1-0 game, but very different game. UND defended significantly better. Clarkson had like 17 shots. I thought only a couple grade A's in there. And when they were there, Jan Spunar, making his first collegiate start, was there to make the save. I thought UND generated way more chances to have more than one goal. So that is more what I expected this year for UND, was to really be able to lock teams down a little better defensively, and that's what they did.
Can you share the story of Spoonar missing the phone call about he's starting in the game last Saturday? That's
Yeah.
remarkable.
Yeah, I think he was maybe taking his nap in the morning, and I said, "How'd you find out you got the start?" And he said, "Well, they called me, but I was sleeping." And he said, so he picked up his phone afterwards and saw the text message that he was going in, and um, he went in and did a phenomenal job. Again, the team played very differently in front of him than they did in front of Gibson Homer in the series opener. And I thought that was a big deal. So they really need to concentrate on putting that type of an effort in front of whoever is starting in goal.
Is there a decision to be made for Dane Jackson tonight about who starts going forward in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough decision. Like I thought about that too. If I were coaching, how would I evaluate those two games?
Yeah.
Because Jan Spunar was great. Obviously, he didn't allow a goal. Also, you have to take into account that the team played completely differently in front of him, and so I think it's kind of a coin flip. It'll be really interesting to see who they start. Do they start one each night? Who knows? It'll be fascinating to see what the coaching staff does there.
You got another week with another, and you could do this all season long with transfers, but another guy going against the team he used to play for in Anthony Manheim, who played at Duluth, now is at UND, played there the last 2 years. Give us the backstory on how he came to Grand Forks this spring.
Yeah, Anthony Mangini played 2 years at Minnesota Duluth, decided to transfer. He's a guy who grew up a massive UND fan. Actually, when he transferred, I thought, I'm searching our system for photos. You know how we do that. And I put in Anthony Mangini, and I'm hoping, do we have a photo of him when he was at Duluth playing against UND? Let's hope our photog got him in one of those shots. There was one photo, and the photo was actually a 12-year-old Anthony Mangini, a fan shot from the WC, or it was the NCHC Frozen Faceoff, and he had green hair on and a Sioux jersey on.
All right, so, you got one.
I think that explains why he wanted to come to UND. Yeah. This has been a dream of his forever, and now he's here going against his old team. I think Dane Jackson said last week when Ellis Rickwood went back to Clarkson, we've seen mixed performances. Some guys have played great against their old team. Some guys haven't. Last week, Ellis Rickwood played great. He didn't have any points, but he was one of UND's top players both nights. I thought he was excellent. And UND will surely hope that they get the same performance from Anthony Mangini this weekend.
They weren't able to get out of practice healthy, though. Tell us about the injury that went down during practice yesterday.
Yeah, Josh Zakreski suffered a lower body injury. He did not come off the ice under his own power. He was kind of carried off the ice by his teammates. And Dane Jackson confirmed there's no exact timeline, only that it's a long-term injury. He's not going to be back anytime soon. We're talking months here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think his season is over, but this is going to be something where it'll be after Christmas break. So tough news for Zakreski, because he really was playing well. He kind of brought everything they were looking for in players. He plays fast. He plays really hard. He was the leading shot blocker among forwards. He was one of their top penalty killers. He has a little bit of offense to go with it. He just started on the fourth line, and by last Saturday night he was on the first line. So that's a tough loss for UND, and it's really too bad for Josh. That being said, that's for UND's perspective. They have players who are capable of coming into the lineup. You don't just lose one guy and everything's doomed. You have guys that are ready to come in, and either Jack Kernan or Cade Littler will be in the lineup tonight, and I think those guys are fully capable of playing a big role.
This is a larger picture question that I know you probably don't have the answer on. I'm just curious how hockey does its scheduling. Basketball in college, you play all your non-conference, then you get to league play. Hockey does it differently, where at least the NCHC does, where you play a couple non-conference series, then league, then a couple more non-con, then after the year you get back into league play. Would you prefer it one way or the other? Or do you like how this shakes out?
Well, I think they basically give teams wiggle room on scheduling so that it starts with non-conference. And then the reason there are the two segments in the middle are they kind of give their teams leeway on whether they want to schedule games Thanksgiving weekend or not. And then they give teams leeway on how they handle Christmas break.
Right.
And one of the big reasons for that, I think, is because the World Juniors occur during Christmas break.
Right.
And this gives teams an opportunity to say, hey, look, we might be down a bunch of guys during the World Juniors. If we schedule a game and lose it, it could kill us in the pairwise. Let's just not schedule games. Or if they choose to schedule, they can say they can choose. Some teams may say, hey, that's okay. We're going to play games anyway. Let's do it. So I think they kind of give them so there's like kind of three windows. It's the first month, it's Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas break.
Interesting on that. I'm curious. We were talking the news that came out that Denver is leaving the Summit League for the West Coast Conference. This doesn't obviously affect hockey's its own deal. You've been out there. You have more relationship than I do with that school. They're really good in a couple sports that the Summit doesn't sponsor. Lacrosse, they're really good in. Gymnastics, they're outstanding in. We've seen the other sports that they've been bad in basketball, Brad. Are you surprised at all that they would look for a different pasture heading west as opposed to playing in the Midwest?
Not shocked. Just, they are a little bit of a geographical outlier within the Summit, and that's the only reason why. It's interesting. Like you said, they have not been very good at basketball. They've been great in tennis. They've been great in soccer.
Yep. Volleyball, they've been good.
So they've got their sports where they've been really good at. So, I guess this league is really transformed into kind of an I-29 type of league. So,
it's interesting because they got to do something here. It just can't be the I-29 teams, because I think St. Thomas, and you know this as well with your coverage of hockey, that they're moving in this direction. I don't think the Summit is their last destination.
Yeah, the one thing you go back to, though, is I really think there's a lot of power within regionalization, and a lot of college conferences are giving that up right now. And I don't know if it's a smart thing. In hockey, we've seen that. We've gone through it already in hockey 10 years ago. And one of the reasons I think the NCHC has the success it did and had the fan buy-in it did is because they were playing a lot of their traditional rivals. The schedule did not change that much for these NCHC teams when they went from the WCHA to the NCHC. Yes, there was a little bit of a change, but the bulk of their schedule, North Dakota is still playing Duluth. They're still playing St. Cloud. They're still playing Omaha, Denver, CC. Like the majority of your schedule is very similar. Now, the Big Ten, it was very different. Minnesota is still playing Wisconsin. But now all of a sudden, look at all the regional rivals that Minnesota kind of lost. And it's been really tough for the Big Ten to build up that fan interest. And I think we all forgot how powerful regional teams are, regional rivalries and things like that. And some conferences have chased the big name. And I don't know if that in the end has been great. So I do think having these regional rivalries is very powerful for these schools.
And you can blame on that is football. Football started all of this, and it's
for sure.
And it's all went downhill, and every other sport has been just wrapped up in that in the process. Great stuff as always, bud. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. We'll talk next week, okay?
For sure. Thanks, Tom.
There he goes. Brad Schlossman joining us on this Friday morning. UND and Duluth coming up 7 o'clock tonight, 6 o'clock tomorrow at the Ralph as UND opens up its conference play in the NCHC with the Bulldogs. All right, we'll break here. We'll get reset. We got a bunch of emails coming in, a variety of topics, including, obviously, the news out of the Summit, our candy lineup. We got some high school football chatter coming up. That's a live look inside the dome right now, the Section 5A title game. We're back on Hot Mic right after this.